Greetings and welcome back, and a good Sunday to you. Hope you had a good week and a weekend. Okay, welcome to another episode of JD's Deep Cut Sunday Tracks, where you can get some good info, deep cut info on obscure songs that have been lost uh, throughout time by famous bands, by bands that weren't so big, but mainly focusing on again on songs that weren't that got lost through time, lost in the cracks, like they say. Today is a good one because it's about a band who had a very long career, or who's had. Not sure if they're still together, but um, has been through a lot of incarnations. Okay, we're talking about Fleetwood Mac. Fleetwood Mac, as you know, is a very, very, very successful band, but it had its starts way back in the '60s. Okay, and the song we're going to focus on today is a song from the first incarnation of Fleetwood Mac, which back then they were known as Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. Started out as blues-based band, rock and roll. Uh, Through the '70s, went through its transitions. The song is "The Green Manalishi." This song was released as a single. This is off of a compilation album I have, but song was never on a record, on one of the records. Came out as a single, but it's very hard to find. You might find it on older comps, but the Green Manalishi with Two-Pronged Crown, great song written by Peter Green. Actually, it was his last song he ever wrote with the band. 1970. After that, he split. But that song, the original song, is a little bit slow. A lot of guitar, a lot of bass. He actually wanted to drone the bass sound and with the drums. So if you hear when you hear the original version, check it out. Keep your ear out for the bass and the guitar. Really good sounding. Okay, it was released in 1970, May of 1970. Interesting story behind the release. They were on tour in the U.S. Early 1970, and made a brief stop in Hollywood, California. So went into the studio, and they cut the song. Peter Green had written the song on the road, I believe, and he wanted to record that song. Released it, got big in Europe. Didn't hit the charts in the U.S. But of course, this song has been redone, covered by other bands, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I really like this song because back when it was released, if you listen to it, uh, it was pretty heavy for its time. Again, as I always say, if you listen to it now, turn up the volume. It's pretty loud. It's pretty heavy. If you think about when it was released, you might not think so, but metal, hard rock has evolved. But when they released the song, maybe that's why it probably didn't hit big in the States, because early '70s was still, the peace and love, the flower power, was going on. Late, end of the '60s, you had a lot of the pop stuff coming out. Early start of rock, glam rock. So it was, it was in there. But yeah, after Peter Green left the band, that was the last song he wrote for them. And again, like I mentioned earlier, Fleetwood Mac has been through several incarnations. After him, I think Jeremy Spencer came in to sing for the band, and then the other semi-famous vocalist, he had a pretty big solo career, was Bob Welch. He sang with the band for about 3 or 4 years, had a hit with them. And then, of course, we all know the big '70s success of them when Lindsay and Stevie came in the band, which pretty much they evolved or turned into more of a contemporary pop band. Lindsay's a great guitar player, don't get me wrong, but their music went into a different direction, and that's where they just blew up. That's everybody knows. Or when you talk about Fleetwood Mac, boom, you go right to the Lindsay era, Stevie Nicks era, because the biggest uh, charters were through that era. Um, I personally like the early stuff, the Peter Green era, a little bit of the Bob Welch era. Of course, you can't hate the '80s. They have, but they were just another type of band. But again, listen to the Peter Green era. Listen to to their early albums. Oh Well is another really good song. Their first two albums are really good. But listen to the Green Manalishi. Um, Good song, obscure track. It has its little uh, uniqueness to it because it wasn't on any album. Um, was released as a single. Recorded in L.A. They were out of England, toured the U.S., but it's kind of like, oh, that's pretty cool. They were on tour. Cut the track in the studio, recorded it, released it. So it has its cool story. And the whole Lindsay thing evolved in LA, with Mick Fleetwood, which him and John McVie have been in the band since the start. They've just been through different singers and guitar players. Okay. Like I mentioned earlier, this song has been covered by a few bands. The Melvins covered it. Corrosion of Conformity covered it. Therion covered it. Um, Judas Priest also covered it. But my favorite cover or band that covered it was Corrosion of Conformity. It's on their Eye for an Eye album. This is their hardcore punk era. Interesting. This band also had its incarnations. I like their early era, um, 83 through 86, when they were a hardcore punk thrash metal band. After that, they turned into I guess you call it just heavy, slow metal, sludge, I guess you want to call it. I didn't like that era. I like the early one, and the Green Manalishi is on this album. So check it out. Check out the version. Again, I'll link both versions on the notes there, so you can check them out. All right. So the Green Manalishi with the two-pronged crown. Check out the end of the Fleetwood Mac, the original version. The end, the screams are pretty interesting there. Oh, and Martin Birch produced the song. Martin Birch, of course, later on became big metal producer. Iron Maiden, Deep Purple, Rainbow, really good. So the song has its good history. All right, I'll see you on the next one, and take care of yourselves. All right.